Good morning, everybody. I am the Cynic. Here's the question. What is it you want to see for the future of the human race? And no, I'm not talking about government or society's collapse and reconstruction. I'm asking about where you, the viewer, would like to see the human race go from here. Me, I'd like to see some new form of the propagation of the human species, personally. Our main method, sexual selection, is starting to outlive its usefulness, in my opinion. Oh, yeah, it was great and has done its job, or what it was meant to do at the time it was needed. However, I'm of the opinion that this method of breeding has become, how shall we say, regressive? I can already hear the insults now. You can't get laid, nobody wants to mother your children, so on and so forth. No, it's not that. It's not that nobody wants to mother my children, it's that I don't want anybody to mother my children. And of course, nurture is the primary factor in the development of a child's personality and what they look for in a partner. However, I'm afraid it would be irresponsible to assert that it is the only factor. Sexual selection is based off of what humans find as attractive qualities. This would be all well and good if it wasn't for the fact that, right now, the idea works against the goals that people claim to want, myself included. How many of you ever heard the term, I want a better world for my children, from people who have or want said children? Now, how many of you have actually seen said people take meaningful action to attain said better world? And no, I don't mean volunteering at the homeless shelters or giving food to the homeless. These are only treating the symptoms of the problem, not the disease. As the saying goes, give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for life. The current West doesn't teach men to fish, and when it does, it's inefficient at best. Either that, or the man or woman, more often than not, shrugs at the fishing pole you offer and asks if you have any more fish. I am, of course, referring to the welfare state, but that's for another video. So, why? Because that's what sexual selection has given us now. Oh, yes, the muscles and aesthetics are there that indicate the health and fertility that are primitive instincts and triggers our desire for procreation with an individual. However, these healthy and fertile signs are no longer what most would call objective measurements of healthy reproduction. Where once men had to earn their muscles and stamina through hunting, foraging, and conflict with other tribesmen and the elements, the same results are simulated through time at the gym as well as cosmetic procedures and hormone therapy injections. Where once women earned their shapely curves through constant work around the tribe, rearing children, foraging, and gained their health through tremendous work, these results too have been simulated by working out at the gym and cosmetics. Eyeliner to highlight the whiteness of their eyes, lipstick to accent their lips, and creams to simulate a fair complexion. I think the term simulated comes up a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, the results do take work, and I'm not about to say that it doesn't. However, these results aren't indicative to the alpha traits that they once were. Big muscles and quickness don't equate to provision and protection like they once did, especially since the latter can be rendered useless by a 9mm held by a 10-year-old girl, and the former can be outdone by a trio of scrawny teenagers using machines to do the work of 100 men in half the time. Let's take Sir Baelish from the popular show Game of Thrones, for example, also referred to as Littlefinger. Looking at him, he's hardly what comes to mind when the typical alpha male is thought of. His muscles aren't that big, he almost never fights for himself, and if you put a wig on him and turn him around, you could almost mistake him as a woman. And yet here, he's one of the most powerful characters in Game of Thrones. I'll avoid the spoiler, but he manages to have one of the ultimate alpha males in the series assassinated. He doesn't do the work himself, but he is the puppet master. Charming, charismatic, traitorous, and most importantly, extremely intelligent. With a great wealth backing him, Sir Baelish is the most influential and powerful man in the Seven Kingdoms, aside from the Lannisters and arguably the Crown. His accomplishments include hiding somebody away from the Crown, influencing multiple kings, control over many men twice his size, halting a coup d'etat, and manipulating multiple high lords and ladies, resulting in resulting in many of their deaths for his ultimate gain and much, much more. This brings us to the real roadblock of sexual selection. Sir Baelish doesn't need to have muscles and skills with a sword himself. He merely needs to pay the highest price to the strongest man or men in the room. While yes, sexual selection isn't based solely on a man's health or aesthetics, it is based on his power. It is power that drives sexuality. It is power that get girls' panties wet, and it is power that the corrupt man seeks. And corrupt men reproducing does not make for a good future. Now does it? So, here we are as a society where the corrupt are drawn to power like moth to a flame, and women are driven to that powerful man in much the same manner. Now, where do we go from here to attain this quote-unquote better world most people claim to want? Where do we go from here? What is it that makes a world better? Now, of course, this isn't really the problem of men going their own way. The majority of us don't plan to have children, and thus don't plan to bring another human life into the world to suffer whatever hellhole the Western world will inevitably become. But I'll entertain the thought just for the fun of it. My personal opinion? Morality. Morality, intelligence, and vigilance. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Thomas Jefferson. I think it's rather agreeable to say that free men are happier than slaves, and by free I don't mean anarchist, but men who are allowed their means of self-defense, men who can build and produce for themselves, and take pride in their lives and work. The big issue the Western man faces long ago in terms of survival are not the problems we face today. Our biggest problem is other people. Annoying coworkers, cranky bosses, that guy who offered your kid meth that one time, biased judges, corrupt politicians, the guy trying to screw your wife, and the greed of humanity at large. Oh yes, they'll blame everybody else. But who's the one who buys the greedy corporate CEO's products? Who supports the corrupt politicians and fails to bring them to task? Who stands idly by as the police commit their brutalities? I think you get my point. Humanity is its own worst enemy. So, how does sexual selection play into all of this? Simple. Morality, intelligence, and vigilance are not as sexy as power and control. Oh yeah, everybody loves the underdog, freedom fighter, once the powerful take too much control, but once that power structure comes crashing down again, hypergamy will kick back in, and reproduction will go back to those who have the most power. We're starting the cycle over again. So, unless there's a way to make the moral, intelligent, and vigilant more sexy, so they may, pass on both genetically and to teach their sons and daughters the importance of such values, then alternative means of human reproduction will need to be found if a quote-unquote better world is to ever come and stay. Oh yes, I can hear it now. What if my better world doesn't mean the same thing as your better world? My response to this is the reason I don't plan to have children. It is the reason I cannot bring myself to care about or act to change the ways of the world and society aside from the theoretical and toying with the notions for my own amusement. There is no objective definition for a better world. Morals and ethics vary from person to person. Non-aggression will be seen by some as pacifism and an invitation to war. Others will see constant vigilance as unnecessary, calling such a thing paranoia. And intelligence? Well, I only need to direct you to our college system to show you how much of a sad joke that word has become. Some would call what I'm saying defeatist and nihilistic. Maybe. Maybe it's just the ramblings of a man who's seen history repeating itself a little too much to have any hope for humanity. Or maybe not. If you want an example, speaking back to Game of Thrones, it would be pretty much the equivalent of giving everybody in the world the honor, integrity, intelligence, reservation, and mercy of the Starks. Mainly, Ned Stark. Failed to do it all at once, and, well, the result for the world would be symbiotically the same as what happened to him. Thank you, little finger. Though I never said I had all the answers, just pointing out a problem and a possible solution. Though, And again, I never really said what the alternative would be. I'll leave that up to you and maybe another video. I am the Cynic, everybody. Have a nice day.